Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for being here today. I'm David Murphy, the president of the Central Florida chapter of NAIOP. NAIOP really stands for owner advocacy, relationship building, and thought leadership. And today I'm proud to present the program, the NAIOP Project Spotlight, the Julian Apartments at Creative Village. Before we get started, I'd really like to thank our annual partners. So our Platinum annual partners, Baker Hostetler, CBRE, Hurd Construction, Greenberg Traurig, Iberia Bank, and Witham. So thank you very much for our Platinum annual partners. I'd also like to take a moment to show our Gold annual partners and finally introduce our Silver annual partners. And let me just say that in an era of running a professional organization through this COVID-19 pandemic, we are really, really grateful for our annual partners and their support throughout the pandemic. I want to introduce a few upcoming events. First of all, if you are not a NAIOP member, I encourage you to reach out to Lindsay Winter to learn more. We're one of the fastest growing NAIOP chapters in the nation. We have two more events in September coming up. On September 15th, we have an up close event. It's the EV Ready Orlando and OUC Charge It event in partnership with BOMA, the City of Orlando, Orange County, and the City of Winter Park. And secondly, on September 24th, we have Visionaries of Central Florida event hosted by our developing leaders of NAIOP in conjunction with ULI, CREW, and BOMA. And at this point, I'd like to introduce our moderator, Aubree Ringler. Aubree Ringler is the Business Development Manager of Baker Barrios. And thank you for leading this event today.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you that I've not had the pleasure to meet, like David said, my name is Aubree Ringler, and I'm the Business Development Manager in the Orlando office of Baker Barrios Architects. I'm excited to help moderate this event today, which will be actually the first virtual tour, project tour, that NAIOP Central Florida is putting on. So to kick off, we're going to start with the following video. Okay, at this point, I'd like to introduce Catherine, who's the property manager at the Julian, and Dayton, who is the leasing manager at the Julian. They will be giving us a quick tour of the property, and then after that, we'll continue the program with the panel discussion with our panelists.
Hey everybody, I'm Catherine again, and this is Dayton, my leasing manager. Welcome to your first virtual tour of the Julian. We are currently in our open air 2-story lobby and lounge space. This is going to be the area where residents come and hang out. We have a lot of people who work from home, so they come down here and they meet their friends, they work down here. We also do our leasing down here. You can see some of our leasing agents hard at work signing leases. And then over here, if you follow us this way, we do have more lounge seating. And then this amazing community mail room. So very much one of our collab spaces where residents can come down, meet each other, get their mail. We also have our conference rooms. Craig's actually up there right now, one of them. And now we are going to send it back to Aubree for you guys to watch your personal tour of the Julian.
To the first stop on your grand tour of the Julian, our secret garden, the interior courtyard, which features tons of awesome amenities for our residents.
The first one being a 6,000 square foot restaurant that will be a great host for dining and entertainment.
Right next to that, we do have our turf, which actually opens up into our open air gym, which is going to be great for group yoga sessions, working out. We have plenty of seating and hammocks on the turf and a crushed seashell area.
Great place to even host a picnic.
And if you'll follow us this way, we are going to take you guys for the rest of the tour. Welcome to the future location of the front porch to our restaurant. This area is going to be fully decked out for residents and people from the community to come down and eat and enjoy some outdoor games. We're going to have big TVs, an outdoor bar. It's going to be such a great setup out here. And if you want to follow us this way, we will show you the location for our 6,000 square foot restaurant space, which is going to be everyone's new favorite spot. The best pictures for social media. It's going to be beautiful. With these full walls of glass windows and doors. Now this is the 6,000 square foot restaurant space. They have already started lining out some of the areas, the future location of our coffee bar, lounge, the bar right here in the middle.
Private dining in the back.
Beautiful space. And then back here, we gave you guys a sneak peek of the back porch area, which is also going to be an extra dining space for the restaurant, private events, an herb garden, some hanging twinkle lights, maybe some outdoor murals.
Planter boxes, really fun space.
It's going to be a great location for the residents to come down and eat, maybe order some room service. We have some great stuff in mind for everybody.
It's just like our gyms where you can open up these massive doors and continue the party from inside as you have. And welcome to our 24/7 fitness center.
This room is complete with everything that you will need. We've got all of your functional fitness equipment, including kettlebells, a weighted tire, battle ropes. We have all of your cardio that you will ever
Including
want.
the Stairmaster.
Yes, and the Peloton bikes, and a rower. Basically anything you could ever want. We also have our octagon rig and free weights that go up to 75 pounds. So this is everyone's favorite gym right now in Orlando.
And it's great because you can work inside and outside. Welcome to our mezzanine, where we have 3 functionalities up here. We have the tech bar, we have the conference rooms where you can come down, you can host a meeting. It will have a smart TV up on the wall, beautiful glass that overlooks the Central Park and the restaurant. And over here we have our office space. We have basically 3 cubicles. You can come down, work on projects, something for work, something for school. Meet someone from Central Park, come on over and hang out. Right this way, and we'll go ahead and show you the rest of the amenities. Welcome to our game room.
This is one of our amenity spaces. We actually have them on 11 of our floors, 4 through 14, which is complete with the beautiful stained glass windows that you just saw that overlook all of downtown Orlando.
And the 4 different themes that we have would be a cafe, a library, a game room, and a town hall. Welcome to the best best downtown library that the city of Orlando has, where it's going to be a great, cozy environment. We're going to be adding some sconces, walls of books. There's a great area to come down, unwind, read your favorite book before you head to bed, before you have to go to class. Welcome to our cafe.
This area is inspired by your favorite Starbucks locations. So this is going to be a room where our residents come and hang out, have coffee in the mornings. We'll have some resident events. They can work and study, set up their laptops, have these great views of downtown as always. We actually have lots of people that are doing Zoom calls. I think a lot of people are still taking classes online, so this is a great space for them to get away, get out of their apartment, but they don't have to leave and deal with traffic, lots of people. They have their own private area.
Welcome to our town hall, where it's a great place to kick back, watch a movie, maybe some Netflix or Disney Plus, or even host a TED Talk with your neighbors or people that you meet in the community and create a village.
Welcome to our A1 one-bedroom floor plan model.
And one of the coolest features about our apartments is you can do keyless entry. That way you can just access it from your mobile device and you just walk right on in.
Come on in. So this apartment does feature one of our finishes. These are our warm tones, so you do have the espresso with the beautiful gray granite countertops. You also have the option of doing the white cabinets with the black granite countertops. This also features all of our awesome Samsung appliances.
And we would totally offer you something if you're here. We'll enjoy the stickers for you.
And then over here, you do have your extra counter space, plenty of room for entertaining, along with this awesome living room that features giant windows, tons of natural light at all times of the day. Especially with these west views, you get great views of the sunset. And if you'll come this way, this is our master bedroom for this one bedroom. We do have a queen size bed in here, but it does fit a king as well, with 2 nightstands, complete again with that giant window, beautiful views. And those concrete accent walls, those are in every unit. Beautiful addition. Everybody has been loving those.
And my favorite part about every apartment would be the closets. We have amazing space. They're walk-in closets, 2-sided. You get to walk right into the bathroom. That way your guests don't have to utilize your bedroom to get to the bathroom.
Last but not least, we do have large capacity washers and dryers, which is different than everyone else on the market. They only have full. We do have large, so this actually fits a full-size comforter duvet. You don't have to take it to the dry cleaner anymore. You can actually just put it right in here.
Alexa, turn on the lights.
Okay. Welcome to our studio model. This is an S1 studio, interior facing, featuring these beautiful windows. Lots of light comes in. You get these great views of the interior courtyard, the future location of our restaurant. We're even going to have a geometric mural on the parking garage, so lots of views for everyone. I would say we turned a normal model, beautiful, neutral normal model, into a party.
Welcome to our A1 floor plan once again, where we are going to be featuring the white tones. And as you can see, we have no lights on in this apartment, just to show you the natural light that these massive windows bring in. And if you also notice, the great thing about the Julian is we have a great structure to where you cannot hear anything that is going on outside.
And
so
that's
just bear with us with the construction noise across the way.
Construction, just wait for it, ready? It's a big difference. Modera property. We've got our 2.5-acre central park that's going to be the favorite park in downtown Orlando. Our downtown UCF and Valencia College campuses. The entire skyline. And you even can see that is 3 different lakes right there. How beautiful is that? And the future location for EA Sports. Just so much going on. Welcome to our famous pool deck. This view is amazing. You see sunrise and sunset, all 3 sports venues. Make sure you have your sunscreen because you will get burned out here, but look at this. There's no shadows, no shade, which is very different from a lot of our other competitors in downtown. We did think that through. And look at this view. We get panoramic views of downtown, along with some great seating areas for lounging. And then our all-glass clubhouse, which still gives you all of those beautiful views.
Wrapping up our story here in the Julian in the Skybox Clubhouse, where it is a great way to entertain with pool tables. You have the kitchen on the opposite side, so where you can put your wine and bring some refreshments down. You have these beautiful views of downtown Orlando. Go ahead and take you out to the Sky Terrace. The views at night are absolutely gorgeous. The way that downtown Orlando really lights up all the different colors in the buildings. You have beautiful views of the Creative Village, Park, EA Sports, UCF, the arena.
And now we will thank all of you for joining us on the tour of this beautiful building, and we'll send it back to Aubree.
Thank you so much, Catherine and Dayton, for sharing the property with us. It was fun to be able to see all of the different unit styles, and it gives me ideas for my own home. So today we have with us Craig Ustler of Ustler Development, Tim Baker of Baker Barrios Architects, and Jim Ellspermann from Brasfield Gorrie Construction on the panel. So to start off, would one of you like to give a brief background on the project, the Julian? Craig, I think you're muted.
Hi, everybody. I'm actually at the property, as Catherine said, but I'm up in the conference room because the glare was too bad coming through before we wanted to do it. But yeah, the Julian, just to sort of set the context, and I appreciate everybody joining us for the video tour. It's just sort of the reality of where we are these days, but hopefully you got a good feel for it. We've got 409 units, apartment units, 14-story building, and we got finished up about a month ago. About 50 or so people living here. Leasing's gone really well so far, given the circumstances. And this is obviously a key component to create a village and sort of furthering the vision. Alan Morris is our development partner on this project, and they've been great to work with, and we appreciate them. Catherine and Dayton and their team have done an excellent job there with Asset Living. They're our leasing and property manager. They've done a great job so far. So most people have heard me talk about Creative Village, and it's always a team effort, and we appreciate everyone. Also, really proud to talk about the achievement of delivering this project on the west side. This is a $107 million project in total value. It's the largest privately developed apartment project in the history of Orlando. And it happened on the west side. This was sort of the piece that people said we could never do. And that investment and investment capital would never go west of I-4. And so we're very happy to have proven that wrong with Creative Village. And that's been a really important piece of what we're trying to do here and trying to build an apartment project that essentially is worthy of that. And I think we've accomplished that goal, and the credit goes to Tim's team and Jim's team for helping us accomplish that. But hopefully everybody got a good flavor from the tour to understand the quality of the product that we delivered.
Craig, you serve two roles regarding Creative Village and the Julian Apartments. One as leading the master development team for Creative Village, and two as the co-developer for this specific project. Will you please explain the overall housing strategy at Creative Village and how the Julian fits into that?
Yeah, so what we do as the master developer, I think everybody's familiar, we quarterback a team that oversees the master development at Creative Village, which is a 68-acre public-private partnership with the city. So there's a certain role that you play by facilitating and administering and managing a lot of the project stuff that goes with that, and zoning and entitlements and who does what, sort of setting the stage for development to happen and UCF downtown and things like that. And then as part of that role, we then have the opportunity to develop vertical projects. And that's what we did with Union West student housing project next door, and that's what we did with the Julian. And when we do that, our team goes out and seeks a best-in-class partner to execute with, and that was what we found in Alan Moore's company. And so then there we have to develop sort of consistent with, we can't contradict ourselves, right? We have to do what's consistent with the vision for the master development, but yet we have to execute a standalone project that will be successful. So at Creative Village, one of the keys to being on the west side and being in Paramore is to have a three-tiered approach to housing. So we have an affordable mixed income approach. That was effectuated through the Amelia Court project. It was developed by Bank of America and by Atlantic Housing. That was the first housing project to open at Creative Village. And we have purpose-built student housing, or what some people would call dorms. That was brought to life with the Union West project with UCF and Valencia, with 640 student housing beds. Now, by purpose-built or by dorm, we essentially mean they don't have full kitchens, they don't have balconies, they don't have a swimming pool, they don't have the full amenity package like you would have living in an apartment. And then the third piece is what we call market rate apartments. By definition, in Orlando now, that means Class A or higher end apartments, and that's what the Julian is. So it's very important to have delivered all three prongs of the strategy, such that we're serving the whole market. If the market was left to its vices, it would have just delivered luxury housing and not paid attention to the other two pieces. So that's something we worked collectively with the city to make sure we delivered on the promise of a fully diversified housing mix. And so the Julian is the first on the market rate side, and important to address housing across a full spectrum. We'll continue to do that over the long term at Creative Village. And then for those of you who aren't familiar with the Alan Moore's company, they have done stuff in Orlando. They did Mainland apartment project Mainland City Center, but they're a very like-minded family company, third generation or fourth generation real estate company, one of the largest real estate developers in the Southeastern United States, and I just ended up having a really good symbiotic relationship with them. Tim Baker and I met them through some mutual friends and really have enjoyed working with them. I'm strongly committed to design and uniqueness. The Julian is not an off-the-rack production-built apartment project. There are people that do that and do it very well, and we respect that. There's a role in the marketplace for that, but that's not what this project is. This project is a much more boutique. It's analogous to building a custom or boutique home versus a production home. This is a much more individualized and as compared to what a production project might be. But we really enjoyed the partnership with Alan Morris, and they certainly brought a lot of experience in the apartment space, which we appreciated, and good team effort in making the project happen. And then most people, I think, that know us well know we've got a several decade relationship with Brasfield, and that was able to, that was important. Also, this was a tough, Jim will talk about, this was a tough pre-con assignment based on where construction prices and everything were. So very happy with the whole team. And as I said, this is an interesting time to open and launch an apartment project. Nobody would choose to launch in a COVID environment, but our leasing team's done a great job, and we've had good success early on.
Tim, growing up in Orlando and now working for Baker Barrios, I am proud to walk around the downtown area and be able to point out, I would say, many of the prominent buildings that Baker Barrios has designed or had the privilege to work on in some capacity. With that being said, how did you and our design team ensure that the design approach would be original for this building and for the client, Craig Ustler?
Well, thanks, Aubree, and my hat's off to you. It's the first virtual tour I've ever done, and I was pretty impressed. So You guys showcased the project very well. For Baker Barrios, our style, isn't necessarily recognizable, and that's intentional. We take every project and every site, and we look at that as a unique opportunity to tell a story. And we work very closely with the client and the client's team to discover what that story is. Sometimes the story is based on the site history. Sometimes the story is based on the site context. And then sometimes it's based on an aspirational or preferred future. We work very hard and diligently to create uniqueness. And when Craig talks about boutique, it really is a boutique experience. It's one of a kind. It's original. And we think, lends itself for a lot of authenticity.
So in regards to the Julian specifically, can you share with us the design background and what went into that?
Sure. There's a 30-minute presentation and there's a 30-second presentation. I know a lot of my NAIOP friends who are spreadsheet kind of folks, this might be a little fluffy for them, so please bear with me. But the Julian, for us, and especially at positioning on the west side of I-4 and at Creative Village, was about bringing a diverse community together and celebrating creativity and innovation and the exchange of ideas. And so with that, the name Julian harkens back over 2,000 years to sort of Roman times with Julius Caesar. During that era, there was a very specific architectural typology, which was called the cloister garden. And when you look at the pure cloister garden, it's basically a donut with a forum or a garden in the center. And that exterior shell really provided sort of the protective nature for the ideas and exchange of information or community that happened inside the building. So for us, when you apply that diagram to the site, the way in which Amelia Street comes into the property, it actually creates a shift. And we use that shift to crack the cloister garden. And it's through that crack that the garden is allowed and the forum is allowed to flow through the building and out into the pedestrian promenade. If you remember on the video tour, there was this glass feature. And that glass feature really is the symbolic area of where the crack occurs. And the glass coloration is really meant to symbolically represent diversity. We have pink and blue glass that represents gender diversity. And we have black, white, and yellow glass that represents racial diversity. And it's about bringing this diverse community together to really collaborate and celebrate. So that's a little sneak peek at what generated sort of the Julian and the story behind the Julian.
Thank you. Jim, what made this project unique for the Brasfield and Gorrie team, and what were some of the complexities involved with the Julian Apartments?
Thanks, Aubrey. One thing that's unique, years ago, Brasfield and Gorrie came to Orlando in the 80s and enjoyed being part of the boom of the magic and the city's growth. One of the first things we had to coordinate getting started were foundations that our company placed many moons ago when we were just starting in downtown for the O Arena. So that was an interesting consideration, and it makes you feel like maybe you've made it a little bit when they're tearing down your old buildings and you're back working on them again. Obviously being a downtown site, being tight, congested, and being next to neighbors and having to accommodate a lot of different operating things is unique. But I'd say one thing, our team and the process, you'll call it a design assist or whatever you may be, but it really the job starts as an 11 by 17, and our team, Brasfield, Baker, Barrios, and Craig will get together and recreate this business case off a few pieces of paper, and we say this is what the job's going to cost. And I'll credit our group and team. We hold each other's feet to the fire that from start to finish that budget's going to be there. So the pre-construction effort happens early. The design team and the contractor push each other to their absolute best of value and design and what we're going to have, and all the meaningful notions of what Tim was talking about went into the design of the building. we're balancing that with the budget. And, our teams work together on getting the budget right throughout the process of the job, the amenities areas and common spaces. It didn't just end when we started. So that's unique, but I think first and foremost, the team that's together allows us to do that. Baker Barrios, I go back, my very first job as a project manager was a DBA job. There was a farmer somewhere in there at the time, but it was a Baker Barrios. And then Craig's had a 20-year plus relationship with Ustler, and couldn't have been happier introducing Alan Morris company to the group of the team that we meshed. Everyone kind of saw like-minded and went through and pushed through and took that business case and made sure we had it. And it was from day one to the day of turnover.
Okay. Craig, what did the capital stack look like? What private equity and lending partners did you all have to call upon?
Yeah, right. The interesting, everything that Jim and Tim said is true, right? So anybody that's worked with us knows we'll politely call me and my team a hands-on development team, but we're very involved on the front end of what's going on, and you've got this cost and design and budget thing working, right? And you got to have people that all pull that boat in the same direction, even though you disagree, because you want to spend more money to make it nicer, but you got to spend less money to keep it on budget and all that stuff. And so there's a natural yin and a yang. But we do a good job with Alan Morris and Ustler and Brasfield and Baker do a good job there. But even when you get all that figured out, then you got to go put the capital stack together. And I think NAIOP does a good job of having a lot of informational sessions that talk about capital and the ability to get things financed. I mean, Creative Village is a great idea. A lot of people could have come up with the idea. Getting it financed and executing is the challenge, and sticking to your budget, like Jim said, but yet, like Tim said, still being able to deliver a good design. So I think, as everyone can imagine, going out to the capital markets 5 years ago on the west side of Orlando was challenging. We did have at that point UCF and Valencia campus solidified. We did have Union West under construction, and which opened 95% occupied pre-COVID. So we had success. We had 7,700 students at the downtown campus. We did not yet have EA Sports. That deal was not known or done when we went to work on the Julian. So we were working off somebody who had a vision for the West Side, who could sort of look a few years out and see what we all saw. I will also say, though, we had an overall context of downtown Orlando, which is very strong in the apartment market, one of the best in the country, national leader in job growth and rent growth and population growth, and a lot of things that really matter to apartment guys. So we did have the fact that we were in an emerging area within a submarket that was really strong. And then Walker & Dunlop was our equity, debt and equity broker. And they did a good job of sort of setting context for everybody to understand. Alan Morris had done quite a few projects in pioneering and emerging urban locations, so we had a good track record there to show that we had gone in what might be kind of an early kind of place and exited successfully. We did that in Thornton Park, and we had a good track record of showing how you could go in early and do everything we did at Thornton Park Central and whatnot, and exit that very well. So we ultimately had a compelling story, had an existing relationship with SunTrust locally that was very beneficial, and very proud that we were able to get SunTrust on board as our construction financing partner. They're not an easy lender to get, but they're a great lender and have done great things for Orlando, and they really thought this was important, as I said, to do something on the west side, and their leadership believed in us and believed in Alan Morris, and we appreciate that. And we were able to attract a large private equity partner that's been a great partner. And then we invest some of the equity ourselves. So we ultimately got the stack put together and executed, but it was not one of those things where there was 100 people lined up to do it. This is with a lot of our projects, you got to find the right fit, and we ended up doing that. And it's also been nice dealing with that capital stack and our project partners during the challenges we faced over the last 6 months, right? Because nobody could have predicted the COVID circumstance, but if your partners believe in the project and they believe in the developer and the sponsor, then you can work through it, which we've done.
Tim, what was the thought process for the collaboration spaces, the rooftop pool, deck, clubhouse, courtyard, and other areas that specifically focused on the target market?
Sure. Well, kind of picking up where I left off, this whole idea about creating a place that brings diversity together to collaborate, to celebrate, and this idea of exchange of ideas, it's really a fundamental building block for Creative Village as a master plan. And so those ideas are infused in those spaces. Ustler and his team, felt it was really important to create these found spaces that promoted community and that reinforced this idea of this exchange of ideas. And so whether you're on a typical floor inside the building where we have these collaborative spaces that get you out of your rooms and invite you to meet your neighbors, or whether it's at the ground floor where the garden sort of breaks through and wraps around to become this linear porch, a porch that's designed to keep and retain you there, to meet people and collaborate. So along the exterior edges of the building, collaboration and community is reinforced. And then elevated up into the air on top of the garage, it's really the garden and the pavilion. It becomes this beacon, this clubhouse that showcases for the world to see this idea of this exchange of ideas and collaboration, all extending out onto an amazing pool deck with amazing views. So no matter where you are within the development, you have the opportunity to meet somebody, to talk to somebody, to innovate, and to exchange ideas.
Jim, how did the project and project team impact the local community and economy?
I think first and foremost, Craig said it best that, for years, no one said anything west of I-4 was going to get capital and investment. I guess we have a pretty strong argument against that right now, and we have a great project. But, being in downtown, just the amount of jobs and the workforce that was created, 200 plus people each day for several years, were one of the first things. We were involved, obviously, in minority business participation and so forth. But at the same time, we were fortunate enough to be working in and around the Lift Orlando project, Boys and Girls Club, as well as the Early Learning Center. So we had three key projects in downtown neighborhoods west of I-4. And not only the normal things you go about doing with business, we were able to create some outreach programs, doing luncheons and so forth, and project showcases for the community. And as we move forward with EA and other jobs, I think we've got real good opportunities to talk about job fairs, both for people growing up, being educated, going off to consider construction, engineering, and design as a career, and demonstrate the skills it takes to go do that. So those are some of the things that the team and teams around downtown have been able to accomplish.
The following two questions I have are for all the panelists. So for whoever would like to answer first, just please feel free to jump in. The first one, will you all please describe the team relationship with the City of Orlando through approval, permitting, and inspection?
The city is a great partner, and they're our partner in master development. And at the top level, Mayor Dyer on down, Mayor Dyer believes in downtown. He believes in Creative Village. He believes in everything. He believes in Paramore, the West Side, diversity, inclusion, all the right things. And so we have a very strong commitment from the leadership of the City of Orlando to support Creative Village and support all the projects here, right? And then we have to. That's at a high level, right? And then what you do every day, right, is you kind of grind in gears of actually having to go get something permitted and inspected and pass final inspections and all that stuff, right? So there's always this challenge of doing a good job and trying to have your team have good relationships. And so we've got a great support system at the city that's helpful, and we appreciate the help that they provide us. We have a somewhat unique situation at Creative Village. The project manager for the city, Kelly Roberts, essentially acts as a kind of a development concierge, so to speak, and she's able to help us when we need help if we sort of get caught somewhere, and that's extremely helpful. She's been involved in the project since day one, and she's our day-to-day contact. And Jim and Tim both, something comes up or whatever, they need something having to do with a permit getting stuck somewhere, or where to park, or what to do on the side, or whatever. Kelly's a problem solver, so we appreciate that. That's a pretty innovative approach by the city. By Book Bonnets economic development department to take a person and assign them to the project, essentially to assist us. And that's been very helpful, both in master development and in the particular projects like this. So the city deserves credit for that. And another thing I'll say about the city, we didn't talk a whole lot about it, but I think everybody understands, most people may have understood, you go through a pretty detailed development review process. Anytime you're building downtown Atlanta, this is not, Tim will tell you, every project, it goes through a very thorough design review and master plan approval process. But we worked with the city early on to establish the Creative Village Development Review Committee. So we have a specific governing body that somewhat streamlines the approval process. That's the good news, is it somewhat streamlines it. The bad news, or maybe the different news, is it also holds us to a very high architectural standard, such that all the projects that come through are not held just to the regular downtown standards, but a specific set of development guidelines that are within our zoning approval and within the master planning documents for Creative Village. And that's what dictates how things frame the park, or how the pedestrian realm is addressed, and all that. So that's been an interesting role that the city has played, is to sort of make sure we do our job as master developer and make sure that the vision is upheld.
So I think to piggyback on what Craig said, with any project, if you think about it, you're being asked to design a custom one-of-a-kind thing in a short amount of time, with thousands of individuals working on it, with budget constraints. So it's not exactly the easiest of tasks. What makes it easier is having a shared vision and respect among the partnerships. And I think that's what's worked out very well with the Ustler, Brasfield Gorrie, Baker Barrios team. And the city is an integral part of that partnership as well. And I think, all projects have speed bumps, and it's the strength of the team that comes together to resolve those to a successful conclusion that I think has worked out really well on this project.
Well, wrapping up from the construction side, in the last 68 years, our team of individuals have a lot of men and women have grown up on 3 different multifamily projects in downtown. They are complex projects. They're tough to figure out the logistics of how you turn over. The city has worked really well with all of our teams in figuring out the best way to do that. We've obviously all collectively learned some lessons along the way, but early communication, consistently being there and available to walk through and look at things that could be roadblocks later on at TCOs and COs are the mainly important thing. And the city takes it very seriously. A domicile, a place where people live, life safety is always important, but it's especially important in a high-rise building where you're putting people. So we credit them for being a part of the process early on, and taking lessons learned on other projects forward to make this one better.
With you all having different aspects in play for this project, what do you feel the key successes and even lessons learned were for the Julian?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, good and bad. One of the things we always struggle with as a developer and the architect is unit mix. And what you're essentially doing as a developer is trying to predict the future 3 years out about what the market's going to want, and try to understand price and square footage and number of bedrooms. And as Tim talked about, an architectural design that'll be true to the vision, but at the end of the day, this is an economic good that someone's consuming, and it's housing. And what's it cost, and how big is it, and how nice are the finishes and everything. It's always that's an art, not a science, right? So we went really heavy on studio and 1-bedrooms. That was driven a lot by our experience and observations in other urban markets. Orlando has delivered thousands of downtown apartments over the past several years, but largely on what I call the traditional unit mix, and hadn't really yet gone to a high concentration of studio and 1-bedrooms. And so we felt like that was important given the student population and given the young professional population, and really focused on what we refer to as whole rents, meaning that you could rent an apartment and write a check for even though per square foot it might be more than a bigger unit, but at the end of the day, the cost of the whole rent was affordable. And that's ended up being true. Our successful leasing has been really focused on the studios and the ones, I think y'all could see in the studio design how livable that was and how attractive it is to students to have their own space with their own washer and dryer, their own full kitchen, their own bathroom, their own balcony, the ability to have a dog. These are things they don't have at student housing or at other, right? But yet they're still just paying in total dollars less than they would pay for a larger unit. So that's a real interesting challenge. Tim's team did a good job working with us on how to do that and really make the studio feel livable. It's dangerous if you start designing micro units and they feel like hotel rooms pretty quick if you're not careful. And then Jen and the team, we face some constructability issues on units that small, and you're reproducing, small units over and over and over, and the MEP is a challenge, and the appliance package and everything's a little bit different sized than normal and all. So that's a real learning experience for all of us because we hadn't been involved in a project that had this many ones in studios, but I'm really glad we did that because, as I said, they've been very popular. I think Tim's working on some other projects now that are pretty focused on that. I think that's kind of the next urban living trend is someone will be in a small unit, 400 or 500 square feet, still feels like IKEA, like it's laid out very well and very livable. And you'll have collaboration spaces. And the idea would be that you'll go hang out with your friends and whatnot in the collaboration spaces and still live in a very sharp, good looking, functional unit, but you're not necessarily all about a huge amount of space. And so that's something that I feel like we got right. And it's going to end up being beneficial and has made us affordable to a broader range of renters, which has been important.
And I would say, one of the sort of keys to success, but also a lesson learned, because it's a lesson learned in a developer sort of willing to take a big step and probably take on more risk than most like to take on early on. But there was a conscious effort on this project to go to the smaller units, like Craig had mentioned. And even within the smaller units, tightening up the square footage, as much as possible. But what that allowed us to do was it allowed us to take those dollars and that square footage and create these collaborative spaces, which make the project unique and I think very marketable to the community and to the stakeholders that we were going after. So I think this idea that, it's easy to kind of run square footages based on square foot costs, and that yields a certain return on investment. To look at the value creation in some of the amenity space that isn't normal or above average on what a typical project was, takes a lot of foresight and pioneering, and I think it's showcasing itself well now, but it's not easy decisions to make early on in a project.
So I would echo everything Tim and Craig said. From a construction manager standpoint, looking at a project that you're wrapping up, I'm very proud of, and I feel there's a success in our safety record. We did not seriously have anyone injured. There was no loss of life, and that's a big feat in a project of this size. And I credit all the men and women who were in charge of safety at our job site, as well as pleased that everyone's gone home safely every day. I think that's a big deal. And then the other big success is our entire group built a high-rise building in downtown that has changed the skyline of Orlando, and that's something we can point to for the rest of our lives. Not as detailed and as thoughtful as some of the other statements, but it's a pretty neat thing to walk away from and look at.
Absolutely. Craig, I know I would love to take a moment, and I have no doubt that the attendees watching this would love to hear you give us a broader update on Creative Village, what's going on now. I heard murmurs in this about the EA office building,
Right.
other apartment projects, and so on.
Yeah, so Creative Village is a long-term project, a lot of stuff going on, and we continue to march forward, even during the COVID circumstances. So Baker Barrios and Brasfield Gorrie are also our architect and general contractor on the EA office building. Broke ground on that in April, and well underway, getting ready to go vertical. A lot of good work there will be complete in October of next year. 175,000 square foot building with 800 to 1,000 new employees at Creative Village. Really kind of a stamp of the brand that Creative Village needed, right? EA is the ideal tenant, perfectly aligned with the mission of digital media and the creative class and everything. And then UCF's masters of video game design and the programs that EA has been involved in shaping there, creating that talent pipeline. That's the idea of Creative Village. So everything's going well with EA Sports, on time, on budget, marching right along. Really, really creative, innovative, thought-provoking interior design, and the way that Tim's team is working with them to design the, if a tech and digital company can sit down and sort of start from scratch and design the space of its dream, that's been really neat to see that come together. Very tight budget on that project. That's a build-to-suit project. We've done really, really good there, making a good-looking building out of not a ton of dollars. So that's been really, really neat, and a nice outdoor space, public plaza that goes with their building. So that's complete in October of 21. That also kind of lines up, and we hope, with obviously UCF and Valencia aren't really operating normally under COVID circumstances this year. So we think we'll be back to normal in the fall of next year. So that's important. Across the street from me here, I'm sitting on the second floor of the project in the conference room. But the 2.5 acre Central Park was supposed to start a few months ago, but couldn't get everything procured and everything with the city without all the meetings and happenings happening. So that took a little bit longer to work through than we had hoped, but that's all done now. The contractor's been selected, and goes to city council for approval here in a few weeks, and we should start construction on Central Park in October. That'll be complete by the middle of next year. Central Park is a key piece. As I said, it's 2.5 acre green space. BHB is the designer. All about the talking points that we just were saying about. That's a city park. It's a city park. It's not run by the master developer or the private developer. It's inclusive. It's open to everyone. It's our gift to the community. As cool as everything we've done over here is so far, it's still just a collection of buildings without the great public space tying it all together. And to Jim Ellspermann's point, that is the former site of the Amway Center. I mean, literally, where the basketball court and the footers and everything sat. So it's an interesting regeneration of the idea that you had what was being used. It was, anybody remembers, it was the fairgrounds and everything before that. So this is the kind of the civic use staying at the heart of Creative Village. And that's really important. So Central Park is a big deal. And then I think we mentioned it on the tour on the other side of Central Park. That's Mill Creek Residential. I think everybody's familiar with Modera University Club project. Really successful redevelopment of the University Club site downtown at Central across from the library. So this is Modera Creative Village. We specifically sought out Mill Creek, one of the largest multifamily developers in the country, to deliver sort of the next apartment project after ours. So they're opening in the first or second quarter of 2022. So that put good space between, about 18 months between delivery of the Julian and their project. So that's going to be neat. That kind of frames the park, gives you EA and Modera on the east side of the park, and then the Julian in the west, on the west side of the park, and in the Central Park in the middle. So it's kind of classic town planning as far as having a city grid and then a great open space. So really excited about all those. And then we are, continuing to think about what the rest of Creative Village looks like, 10, 15, 20 year project. And so there's more to come in that regard. But we'll continue to sort of take the next step. We've got office, we've got more student housing to do, we've got hotel, we've got the adaptive reuse of the Bob Carr eventually. We'll be making the announcement shortly about the restaurant that's going to occupy the ground floor here at the Julian. Obviously important to continue to fill out the restaurant and retail piece too.
Great. Okay. Well, we did have one question come in during this time. However, Craig really went through and described it very well. It just touched on what was coming up in Creative Village as well as different mixed use projects. So with that being said, if any of the attendees have follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us after. I know the panelists would be happy to answer any questions. So on behalf of NAIOP Central Florida, the panelists and myself, I just want to say thank you all so much for logging in on your lunch break. I know I learned a lot today, so I hope you did as well. And like I said earlier, if you have any further questions or would like some more information, please let us know. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.